Welcome, everybody, to the R&R CatCast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on the Instant Reaction Show. We're here to talk about the Montana State game that just got over. Montana State loses 7-37 over in Missoula. A total butt whooping by the Grizzlies against us, and there's not a lot of feel goods right now. So Thorny and I are going to let it out. We'll try to go into the good, the bad, and probably the ugly right now. We're licking our wounds. We feel pretty down. We'll try to put a positive spin on it.
Got to play it. Yeah, I want to record this right now. Like, we hit record almost immediately after the game ended because I want to rinse this game out of my mind. I want to talk about it now while it's fresh, and I want to move on so I can enjoy the rest of my day. I can enjoy Sunday. We'll come back on Monday and talk about wherever the Cats end up getting put in the playoffs, which I'm going to assume is not a top 8 seed at this point. I think we just played ourselves out of a seed, which is crazy. We had the 2 seed on the line, and maybe we'll get an 8 seed. But you know, we really did not do ourselves any favor for the playoffs with this awful performance. Let's put it that way. This was terrible.
Yeah, I think Montana State still gets a seed.
I don't know, man.
They did in 2018, or excuse me, 2021. We got the 8 seed after pretty much the same kind of scenario.
What was our record that year? Do we have 3 losses?
Asking questions I don't know.
No, we only had 2 losses that year. No, that was our 3rd loss that year too. Same thing. Nope, I'm looking at this year. Gosh darn. Thanks for reverting back to the 2023 schedule, ESPN, when I was trying to figure that out. No, we were literally 9-1 heading into Cat Grizz that year. So
okay.
we bumped all the way down to the 8 seed after being 9-1. We're definitely not going to be an 8 seed if we're 8-3.
I don't know. I think we still are, but we'll see. Come tomorrow.
Yep. All right, where do you want to start on this game? This was bad, man. This was a bad performance. I'm really disappointed with how the Cats showed up. I want to give a lot of credit to the Grizz. I thought the Grizz played a really good game. They played a much cleaner game. They were more physical. Washington Grizz was rocking. Clifton McDowell played really well. You got to give the Grizz a lot of credit on this one. I don't want this to be an episode where we are talking only about the Cats and how bad the Cats sucked and all that stuff. I got to give a lot of credit to the Grizz. They played a really good game. And pretty much everything that I thought in my head all week long that could be like the nightmare scenario that would play out in my head, like Clifton McDowell keeps rushing for a first down on 3rd and 4. All these kinds of scenarios I had in my head, they pretty much all played out. Other than the Cats' running game did okay, kind of. They didn't shut us down, but it obviously shut us out of the scoreboard. So say what you want. It doesn't matter if you run between the 20s. If you can't punch it in, it doesn't end up mattering at all.
Yeah, the Cats outrushed the Grizzlies 213 to 202 yards. I thought the lines played on both sides pretty good, actually.
Yep. I thought the offensive line did pretty good. There's a few times where they let Alex Gubner just wreck them, but he's a good player.
Yeah,
and hopefully he's an All-American type guy. You don't want that to happen. Obviously, if the offensive line was as elite as we were thinking, it would have happened less. But I thought the offensive line did pretty good. If we're going to start structuring this in the good, the bad, the ugly, that's one of my goods. I thought the lines were pretty good. Not enough to put in the bad category anyway, but
that's all I have for the good.
Yeah, that's really all I have in the good too. Like I'm struggling to think of what was positive in this game. There's not a lot of positives. There's not even any silver linings. Like, what can you take away from this game?
Yeah. Julius Davis ran hard. As always, he played good. Surprisingly, we don't give him the ball more, but that's that.
No, when you got a guy like that who is running pretty well, I mean, 14 carries is decent, but
yeah.
I was telling you before we started recording, there was the one where we, that first drive where we got down in the red zone and we were moving the ball after Tommy had like a 40-yard run or something down there, get us inside the 30 or something. Then we just went to Jared White. It's like and then we went backwards and we had a false start. So there's another thing, a false start, go backwards. Then we run the ball like 3 times for like negative yards and then miss a field goal. It's like, that's the game. Like that's how it's going to be. And that's how it was. And yeah, you got a guy like Julius Davis who's running well. I don't know. I thought Scotty Humphrey played really well. I put him in the good category.
Okay.
Just off the top of my head here.
Let's move to the bad category.
Okay. Bad category. Man, it's going to be hard. Is there anything in the bad category, or is it all just ugly?
Yeah, well, let's just all lump it into one. I think not playing Sean Chambers was something that the Cats missed out. They probably had plans to play him. Didn't happen. Red zone offense was terrible. I'm going to stop right there because I'm sure you have something to say about the red zone offense.
Do what? Sorry, you kind of cut out there.
I was talking about the red zone offense. Do you have any thoughts on the red zone offense?
I mean, continue to have procedural penalties when we get in the red zone in environments where there's any sort of noise at all, basically on the road. Continue to have false starts. We continue to shoot ourselves in the foot with stuff that is not, it's fixable. Like it's in your own control not to have that happen.
Yeah. I thought another bad was we went 1 for 10 on third down. The Grizzlies were 7 for 14.
So bad. So bad.
7 for 14.
The defense did improve a little bit because they were like 4 for 4 or 5 for 5 on third down to start the game. And so that would make them like 2 of 9 for the rest of the way out or something or other. But
yeah, they punched us early, and we talked about that with Zach. It was like, what's going to happen if that happens? And we were never able to capture the momentum.
No, we never even had a taste of it. I guess we scored that touchdown right at halftime, and like, okay, here we go. But then the Grizz scored a touchdown, easy touchdown right after that. I'm like, well, that was fun. That was like the one little tiny candle flicker of flame that we had, and then the Grizz just stomped on it like right away.
It's like Brendan Hall's been putting it out of the end zone all year long, and we kick it right to the 1 yard line, right to Junior Bergen. And he goes 50 yards on us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's that kind of day, right?
It was that kind of day. But the problem is there's been several of that kind of days for the Cats. Now, this was we didn't get our butts whooped against Idaho, but it felt similar in terms of just not looking like the Bobcats do. And at what point do you accept, how good are the Bobcats? Are we the team that's going to play these kinds of games and just, not be able to win these kinds of games? We didn't compete today, but we competed against South Dakota State. We competed against Idaho, but everyone is thinking the Cats have a chance to go back to the national championship. How good are the Bobcats? There's going to be a lot of soul searching, a lot of questions after this game. And I think that's going to be a big overarching one is just how good are the Bobcats? Are we as good as we think we are? Or are the Bobcats just the 10th best team in the country?
Depends. It really does. I think the Bobcats can be one of the best teams in the country. We were in some tight spots this year. Like we've played some really tough road games. Let's acknowledge that. Going on the road to Idaho, going on the road to South Dakota State, then getting beat at Washington usually. They were all top 5 matchups. And
then Sac State on the road.
Yeah.
They're still in the top 10.
We won that one.
So, we did win that one.
Yeah. So not all is bad. Not all is bad. And I knew coming into this game, Washington Grizzlies Stadium was going to be an X factor. It absolutely was. We could not handle their momentum. If you look through, there's going to be overreaction Monday, overreaction all this week. It's going to be talking about both the coordinators, game calls, and just inability to execute when the chips are down.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a fair discussion.
It is fair.
It's a fair criticism at this point. I've purposely not gone on a Bobcat Nation once. I went on Twitter only to kind of congratulate the Grizz and talk about the Cats have some soul searching to do and all that. I put a post and then I kind of went off there. So I'm not reading the chaos. I'm sure it's full on meltdown mode over on Bobcat Nation and Twitter, and I'm sure Grizz fans are enjoying it and talking lots of smack as they should. I mean, we'd be doing the same thing. But so I haven't consumed any of that. So, but I think pretty much anything is fair right now, almost because you can at some point you're talking about being road tested. Well, against the top teams that are still top teams, the test we passed with 25%. That's an F. We won one of the 4 hard road games that we had. That's it. Weber doesn't count anymore. So between it was a bad schedule, but if you're going to be an elite team who wants to go to the national championship, you can't go 1-4 in those games.
Yeah, but it's weird
2-2, and we're still
it
a seed.
wasn't like we lost Idaho and South Dakota State by merely inches, really. So I mean, that's a razor thin margin. Like you're saying, yeah, it's a F. You're right, but I don't think it's like as easy as just saying, yeah, that's what we are, because it feels different if we get our butts kicked each one of those games, but we didn't. We got our butts kicked today. That hurts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think the Cats still have a lot to play for. They can right the ship.
Absolutely.
This is not over. The Cats can gain momentum. They could come back to Bozeman, have a hard look at themselves, make some changes maybe. I don't know what kind of changes they would need to make. That's too early to think about. But they have a resilient bunch of players that want to play for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's galvanizing. This is going to hurt, and this should hurt. Those guys are going to take it to heart. And they're going to come back into the playoffs. Kind of a pissed off team, I imagine. The test is when we have to travel. Like, we went to Sam Houston State last time this happened, and look, that was a great game for us. It was one of the best wins of Coach Vigen's tenure. We'll see what happens. Do we get to come back to Washington Grizzly Stadium? That would be fun. I'd actually be up for that.
Yeah, a shot at redemption, I guess.
Yeah.
You get that narrative, and you win that game, and then this game is completely washed out of your mouth, completely.
Yeah.
But then, the stakes are obviously lose two, get knocked out of the playoffs where the Grizz bragging rights for the rest of our entire life until we die.
Maybe. I mean, maybe, right? Things come and go. They come and go. Like, they go back to Bozeman next year. Montana State wins in a landslide next year. It's going to be us peacocking around, or who knows what happens, right? But these games, these wild games, for all the Wilds, they're living up to their names. You and I were talking about, we haven't seen a close game in a long time. 2018, you said it was an anomaly. It feels like an anomaly, but like a back and forth game doesn't feel very
no.
common.
Lately, it's just one team steamrolling the other one.
Yeah, it's capturing the momentum and then just riding the crowd and the home field advantage all the way to the victory. So,
Yep. I don't know. The optimistic part of you would say, yes, this happened in 2021, and then the Bobcats went on to make a run to the national championship game.
Yeah.
So there is that side of it, but I don't know. This was a very disappointing effort. I thought the team looked completely overwhelmed by the moment. They looked scared, timid. I thought the play calling was kind of timid. We see this time and time again where we have these big matchups, and all of a sudden, like what has been working for us all year long is having a good mix of Chambers and Tommy. And then we get in these big games, and it's Tommy. And I like Tommy, so this isn't a knock on Tommy. It's just that we just changed what has been working, and yet again, here we are. Now this was better. Like I give credit. This was better than like Idaho, where we looked completely like, what are we doing? We're just throwing the ball over the place. We're not even playing Sean Chambers at all. But still, it's like we just kind of get away from some of the stuff that has been working, and we start relying too much on one guy when it's been a team effort up to this point. So why do we go away from that team aspect when the games matter, when they're on the line?
Yeah. Some of the play calling was questionable at best. 0 for 4 on fourth down.
I'm sick of taking shots on like 4th and 2. Why do we keep throwing 40-yard fades? Such a low percentage of chance of that. And we were throwing them to like Hunter Provience, who was like a freshman tight end of all things too. Like nothing against him, but like really, that's the guy we're going to throw that to on this?
Yeah. Okay. I thought I want to give props to the Grizzlies. They looked really good.
Yeah.
Their defense plays super fast. That's a fun defense to watch. It's a terrible defense to play against. When you beat them, it feels good. But it works well for the Big Sky of what they do. They're great tacklers. I got to give Montana credit for their tackling skills. I thought their offense was okay. I didn't think it was fantastic. I thought Montana State's defensive tackling was put them in a hole early. I thought Montana State's defense got better.
They figured some stuff out a little bit, but
yeah. But once you take a shot and then now you're down 14-0, that's a tough hole to come out of.
We gave up 20 in the first half and 17 in the second half. So the second half, statistically, not a whole lot better. Now we did have the interception. Tommy threw an interception. So things kind of helped the Grizz out a little bit. But we made some stops. We got off the field. But in the end, points are what matters. And then the second half wasn't much better than the first half, scoreboard-wise.
No. So frustrated with the third down calls, the fourth down calls. I thought that was probably a key to this game, just poor play calling, poor decision making on those plays when we needed one, when we needed two, and we didn't trust the bread and butter of what we do. When you don't give it to Julius Davis, when you need 1 yard or 2 yards, or Sean Chambers, a gap.
Yeah.
Then what are we doing?
On fourth and 2, why isn't Sean Chambers in the game?
I can live with it. If we get stuffed on 4th and 2 and we give Sean Chambers up the middle, okay, that sucks. But we're at least not throwing a 40-yard fade to a guy that's blanketed coverage. It just doesn't make sense.
No.
Like if we're going to throw a pass, we need 4 yards, 3 yards, 5 yards. A quick slant anywhere in the playbook, a little button hook, a little timing route.
I mean, we did have a couple slants, a nice slant. I think Ty McCullough's touchdown was a slant.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was actually, right before that happened, I was about to text you and Zach, have we thrown a pass less than 40 yards yet? Like just even throwing a ball that didn't go 30 yards in the air. That was the first one, and it worked. It was an easy completion and an easy touchdown.
We didn't do the pop pass that we did. That gains a lot of momentum.
I understand. Like that's defensive specific, and maybe it doesn't work against a team like the Grizz. But there was just some things like you just didn't see it. It feels like we didn't learn a whole lot from Idaho.
Yeah,
the same kind of mistakes that last drive against Idaho, where we got down into the scoring position and we just threw 3 fades. Like, why do we go to that? It hasn't worked this year at all against anybody.
Yeah.
It's not working. Tommy's throwing pretty good passes. We don't have guys that can separate or whatever. And then Ty McCullough dropping that pass was just a killer too, because that game, it wasn't completely over at that point. He catches that in stride. He scores a touchdown. Then it's 14-27. I don't remember what it would have been at that point, but
yeah,
it's still. And then they got the first down from the defensive holding, and I think we ended up turning it over on downs on that drive. I don't even remember what happened on the drive.
Yeah, we were 4th and 6, and then we hit a 5-yard pass to McCullough, and good tackling again. That was one of the decisions I was like, okay, I can live with that. 4th and 5, we hit a 5-yard pass, and
yeah, you got to get to the sticks, but still a much better chance of getting a first down than throwing a 30-yard fade.
Yeah.
So again, comparatively, I'll live with that.
I just wanted to mention this before we get out of here because I don't have much more to say. The Cat Grizz game is always such a unique game to me. It feels like it's played above everything else, and the results don't always match up of how the teams actually are. Like,
no.
What do we learn about the Montana State Bobcats? I don't know if I learned anything about the Bobcats today. Like, did we fold under pressure? I don't know if I could even say that. I think the play calling was suspect. I don't know how I feel. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. I don't want to go rewatch this.
Oh, I don't want to.
I probably won't. I'm probably just going to flush this down the drain and
yeah, I imagine our
regroup tomorrow. Yeah, when we get our seating.
I imagine our thing on Monday is going to be probably more geared towards the playoffs and what we need to do to right the ship and all that kind of stuff than it is really digging back into this one, because I think that's the only thing you can do, even as fans of the as Bobcat fans and at podcasters and people that talk about this. I think everybody in Bobcat Nation wants to just flush it and move on. And that's why I want to do this podcast right now, because there's still a day and a half left in my weekend, and now I can just be done. Now I'm free of having looming over my head that I still have to talk about this garbage game.
Well, it's done. It's over. Now you can relax and know that we still made the playoffs. That's a huge thing. That is still in front of us. And Thorny, I was just thinking, hey, if we don't get a seed and we do have a first round game, it might not be a bad thing. Montana State's going to be mad.
They're going to be mad.
Now their home game at Bobcat Stadium, start to get the train going again. Nope. Train going to Frisco, it's still available to us, buddy.
And there's still parity. Like, there's teams like Delaware, who is battling with Villanova. I don't know what they'll end up at, but like Furman, there's still teams that are going to be in those top 8 seeds that are like, do you trust those teams to really win all their games? Like there could be an upset that still gives the Bobcats another home game. That's what happened in the run in 2021.
Yeah.
Somebody lost. I don't remember who it was that got South Dakota State to come to Bozeman. That's why we got the semifinal game at home. We had no business hosting that game. Someone made an upset. So you never know. We could have another game, but we only have one guaranteed game because of this, most likely. It's just there's still optimism. The Cats are still a dangerous football team, but there's a lot of questions that Bobcat fans should be asking, that Cat players and coaches should be asking themselves what went wrong and how do we fix it.
Good point. All right, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here, man. I don't really feel like saying much about all the stuff I would usually say, so let's just get out of here, man. Go Cats.
Go Cats.